Thank you.
If I need to go and see the Queen, I will not go without Ufoma because I wouldn't know which cutlery or what to do, which leg to put forward or which one to put backwards. But she will. And you might think this is a frivolous part of what you need to learn to be successful in business. But you will be surprised how much difference it will make between you and the next guy. People do business with people they're comfortable with. And people they're comfortable with, they must be able to socialize with. And there are rules of engagement. So Foma, take my people. We're all novices, so just start us from the beginning and tell us what we need to know.
Thank you very much. I think she's exaggerated a little bit because I think if I had to meet the Queen, I'd probably have to go to the same place as she goes to because that's a different thing entirely. But what it is this. Why did I even get into it at all? Just going to offices and how I was treated, I decided that there's something wrong with Nigerians, that common politeness isn't common anymore. And I found that very strange because traditionally, we're very respectful people. We're people who will greet adults in a certain way, older people. If it's Yoruba people, they'll kneel down and greet. You dobale, you do all those things. So what happens when we're speaking English? Something happens that's not very pleasant. You walk into an office and you want to see someone. First of all, they tell you to sit down. So I got into the habit of saying, I don't want to sit down. You can ask me if I'd like to sit down. Don't tell me to sit down. Very simple things. Or you get there and nobody looks up. You're standing in front of the receptionist. The receptionist doesn't look up to look at you at all, but you're waiting to see someone. And then reluctantly, they'll say to you, who do you want to see? And then they'll say to you, so what's your name? When I say Mrs. Idigbe, then they repeat Idigbe to me. If I wanted to say Idigbe, I'd say Idigbe. So when I say Mrs. Idigbe, that's the title I want to be addressed by. So you'll say to me, Mrs. Idigbe, if you have to repeat it after me. Don't tell me, or if I say Ifoma Idigbe, you say Ifoma. No. That's being forward. We're not at that platform. I don't know you, you don't know me. Don't be forward. When I want to be forward, I'll tell you this is Ifoma. If I say Ifoma and you repeat Ifoma, I have no reason to be offended. When she says Mrs. Awoshika, you call her Mrs. Awoshika. If she says Billy, you say it's Billy. That's really what it is. Very fundamental. I don't know what's difficult about it. Ifoma is a reasonably common name where I come from. Ifoma, Ifeanyi, Ifeanyi. I say to somebody, my name is Ifoma, they say Ifi. How? Where? How? Where does it come from? You know, these things sound simple, but they're fundamentals. She cannot tell me her name is Ibuku, and I decide it's Kunkun, I'll be calling her. It's so fundamental that I don't understand why we don't get it. Now, we go to school. Why do we go to school? The Queen didn't go to school. She was taught at home. She was home tutored. In Australia, they home tutor the children because the distances are so great where they live in the outback, so they have to be home tutored. So to acquire knowledge, you don't need to go to school. So why do you go to school? You go to school to learn how to socialize with others. Because when you're at home and you say your mother is stupid when she tells you something, they may laugh and she may slap you. But when you go outside and you tell somebody they're stupid, they beat you and you go home with bruises. And next time you don't say somebody is stupid. Am I correct? It's as simple as that. So schooling is the first formal socialization that you have. And we don't realize how important it is to learn those skills. And part of the reason why is because when we go to school, we're all strangers. And we ourselves want to learn. So who is to teach us? The teachers teach us. Our parents are the first tutors. But our parents are not with us in school. And so a lot of the time, we're learning from other children who also don't know. And so if you're a teacher, it's important that you watch what the children do. But that's where etiquette comes in. What is etiquette? It's really, to be honest, the proper way to do things. Now, the proper way to do things, you will find, is different from culture to culture. But there are certain things that are called the fundamentals of behavior. There are certain things that are just fundamental. Good manners is fundamental. What is good manners? You walk into a room, you greet the people who are there. Somebody greets you, you respond. Those are simple things. But when you walk in, when I walked in, one of the first things I did was to look around the room. I wanted to see whether anybody was chewing, because we seem to think it's okay to chew in public. But when you're chewing, the first thing I think is, oh, this person, oh, okay, they're chewing. And ladies like to make noise when they're chewing. You can hear all sorts of sounds. To tell you the truth, that's the first thing that's off-putting when somebody meets you, because it means you're not prepared to meet the person. You're chewing. You're not prepared. Now, it's not that I don't chew. I chew when I've eaten, because for me it's a mouth freshener, and that's different. And I can swallow my gum. If there's nowhere to throw it, I swallow it, rather than be seen chewing. Supposing I came onto this set and I was chewing, what would you think? Or maybe you wouldn't think anything. It doesn't matter to you. It matters. It should matter, because it's the first thing I see. I also looked around to see what people were wearing. Now, it's not so much the cost of what you wear, but whether it's neat, whether it's clean, whether it's ironed, because whether your shoes are polished. And now, a lot of the ladies, you know, it's very difficult to wear shoes and walk about in this country, and the ground is not exactly favorable. So the heels get eaten. And after a while, you know that little nail that keeps the sole together of the heel, it goes off. So when you walk into a room, there's all the noise, king, 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 you know? You know what it tells me? You're not looking after your shoes. When the caps are off, go and put the caps back on. You know, when I said this to some people who work, and you think it's about having money, it's not. Because a lot of young ladies in banks wear shoes where the caps have gone off. These may seem like small things to you, but they're not. A young man here is wearing purple socks. Am I correct? Yes, somebody's wearing purple socks. And what I just thought was, this is a person who is not afraid to be different. So conformity is not what I'm talking about. There's a difference between conformity and being who you are and being properly dressed or being appropriate. Now, when you wear a tie and it's up to here and it's not the fashion, there's a problem with it, because a tie is meant to be worn on the belt buckle. So if you're coming for an interview and you're wearing a shirt, I've had to say to someone, really, is this the current fashion? Because their tie was up to their neck. And they laughed. And I said, I think it should be on the belt buckle, shouldn't it? Because this was a new employee we got in. And I said, you know, that it looks appropriate. If it's a fashion thing, when you're going to a party, wear it short. To the office, there are certain things that are expected. It's that simple. Now, what am I talking about? All these things have to do with appearance, the importance of appearance. You haven't opened your mouth yet, and people are making all these judgments. I'm sure that each time Mrs. Awoshika comes out, everybody looks at her, and without knowing it, looks at her from head to toe and comes to a particular decision. When I walked in here, I knew that people were looking at me from head to toe. That's what we do. It's the first thing you see about people. Yes, that's what you do. It's human nature. And you will find that when you interact with people regularly, I remember in school, somebody was talking about someone, and one of the sisters, the Reverend Sister, says, oh, she's always beautifully dressed. If you had asked the Reverend Sister before that, it might not have occurred to her. And that's the sort of thing I find myself saying about people. Oh, she's always so polite. Oh, he's such a well-brought-up young man. I wonder who his parents are. I'd love to meet his mother. All I've done is I've seen them. So that's where we start, the importance of appearance. If you have to paint your nails, and this comes, you know, this is the ladies, keep them well painted. When they begin to chip, clean it. Those of us who are mothers found that when you start having babies and your hands are in water all the time, after a while, you just don't bother. Billy's own aren't painted, mine aren't. But you can file your nails, and you can keep them neat. I'm not saying be artificial. I'm saying you have to present yourself in a way that it's clear, that you pay attention to your appearance. That's what the message is. Pay attention to your appearance. It matters.
Ignite, from dreams to reality.
When searching for a good bank, you have to be very discerning, so you don't get one thing and miss out on others. Well, your search is over at First Bank. We offer a variety of products and services made with you in mind. From flexible loans, easy access to cash, bill payments from anywhere in the world to savings for the little ones. Make that switch today. Contact us to learn more about the many products and services we have designed for your convenience. First Bank, truly the first.
Ignite, from dreams to reality.
When you have a business meeting, the thing is you want to appear smart, one. Yes, you will want to also, apart from knowing what you want to speak. Yes, most of the time I try to dress to suit my mood at the time.
I just look good, not extremely too good, so that the priority won't be on my looks, but what I have in my brain. I just look moderately okay for an interview.
Ignite, from dreams to reality.
When you open your mouth, how do you address people? One of the challenges that we have these days is that nobody teaches us how to speak in this country. And so half the time, we don't hear what people are saying because the words are all mixed up. Now, what I'm talking about is elocution. Words have to be pronounced properly. There's a reason why those words are spelt that way. You are communicating with your pronunciation. So elocution and use of language, we're not very good with language in Nigeria, but I think it's because along the way, we haven't been taught properly. When I read the English books, I shiver and I just shake and I think, and this is what our children are learning with, when the tenses are not even correct. I was reading the papers today and I just thought, is there an editor working here? You know, and we may laugh about it, but it puts us at a major disadvantage abroad. Business is global. Mrs. Awoshika can tell you that. It is global, which means we all have to speak a common language. Because English is our particular choice of language, we have got to speak it well. And there's no need, you know, if you want to say, let me have those, say precisely that. Don't say, let me have that tin. What does that mean? What is that tin? You understand what I'm saying? Well, what is it? What is that? That's not English. And there's a difference between when you're talking to your friends and when you're talking serious business. There's no time for colloquialisms in that sort of circumstance. We use expressions, not on seat. What does that mean? Not on seat. The person is not on seat. Or the person is not available, or the person is coming, or the person has gone somewhere and will be back soon. Be specific. It's communication.